Hey everybody. My name's Diva Brzezinskis, and I am your instructor for the summer session of Language Program Administration. I'm very excited to have you in class. There are four of you, so it's a nice small size, so we'll get to interact quite a bit together. Um, Although this is an asynchronous class, so most of this will be recorded, but I do like to schedule meetings if you would like to do so. Admittedly, I hate recording myself. I much prefer to have classes that are synchronous so that we could all just be in the same room together. So if we ever want to meet together, I always welcome that. So I know your schedules are different. I have been teaching this course for the last 5 years, I think, at Lee University. I taught it for almost 10 years at LCC International University, and I've been a language program administrator for um almost 20 years, I guess. I've worked in different capacities. As we all begin, typically we begin as teachers and we find ourselves in these roles as program administrators and without much experience to do the job. Um, Meaning we fall into this. So a lot of this course is reflective. It's kind of a what would you do? Because if you're not yet a language program administrator, you're not sure what you what's going to happen and what kind of school you're working at. So, just to start, a couple of things. This is the book. Okay, now this is a very old book. Um, Honestly, there are not very many good books that are written for language program administration, but this one is a pretty good one in that it gives you a good overview of the job, the different types of schools, and working with stakeholders, budgets, and so forth. So I know that it's old, but it's still good. And we're only working in the chapters that are relevant to modern times. Um, One word though, you do not need to buy this book. If you have, that's great. If you have not, then I will post all of the readings online, and maybe you've already seen that I did that with chapters 1 and 2 already for this week. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit delayed in updating the syllabus properly. I think I accidentally loaded up the wrong one, and the due dates are wrong. I'm going to share my screen with you very quickly just to give you an overview of the course. You'll see the syllabus is posted here. I recently updated it and you should have received a notification. When you open the syllabus, you will be led to the text, the university mission statement, and then a description of what this course is. And the course is to help you prepare for a career in leadership in language programs if you so choose. Okay. Um, the work, this is a short class. For example, it only goes from June 22nd until July 30th, so roughly about a month. We're going to cover many topics, starting with an introduction, which we are going to do this week, leadership, program assessment, instructional design, different types of language programs, human resources, budget and finance, and then student services, planning, and technology. Here's the grading scale, and here are the assignments that we're going to be working on. Every week, I'll post the reading. I'll also post a lesson that I created that gives basically an overview of what the chapters that we're reading are about. And then you'll have an assignment, typically a discussion forum or some type of leadership position paper. Much of this course is reflective. I ask that you just do the reading and then think about more of a what would you do if you were in such a position. It's a really nice day, so I've decided to sit outside. So you might hear a dog bark every once in a while. Um, and then we're also going to work on creating an annotated bibliography, which I'll explain to you in greater detail next week. But basically, you're going to look at all of the topics that we're studying, do a little bit of research on your own, and then just provide a brief summary of the article that you read and a reflection on the article. So looking at this week, um, I've given you a little devotion. If the highest aim of a captain were to preserve his ship, he would keep it in port forever. So, here we are. How, as we how do we as language program administrators um, do that? And so here, this first week is familiarizing with the role. A little bit about me. I've been a language program administrator for quite a long time. I opened the first IELTS testing center in Nashville in 2005. And I did that for quite a long time. And I was the senior instructor and academic coordinator for ELS language centers before I started working in independent schools. And I created many different ESL programs for schools, such as the Web School in Bell Buckle. I also worked at Web Schools in Claremont, and then also I created the ESL program at Cape Fear Academy in North Carolina. Today I have relocated to not Cleveland, Tennessee, but Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm originally from. And I am working now in urban education, working with developing language programs in the inner city. And also, I teach at several community colleges and the university, working in language program administration. ESL has been a true passion of mine. I was an ESL student. My husband was an ESL student. I'm Lithuanian. He's German. He was born in Mannheim. Um, and I love working in this capacity. It's given me many opportunities to travel, to meet interesting people, and to do a lot of really cool things. And I find the work very rewarding, and I think that you will too as you move further into this career. So taking a look at chapters 1 and 2, the topics this week are transitioning from teacher to LPA. So typically, language program administrators do transition from teachers into these roles that I did, and many of my colleagues have done the same. Um, and with that, teachers and LPAs have different skills and sets of responsibilities. So moving to institutional leadership is quite different from what's happening in the classroom. So there are several challenges to this position, and they have to do with making decisions for your program, for your school, recruiting staff and training them and evaluating them, designing programs, then implementing them, ensuring that you have a quality program and you have accountability, managing a budget. I can tell you that for me, that was probably the most difficult aspect of the job because I wasn't very familiar with it. And then also working with stakeholders. Those are people like the parents, it could be a board, it could be the general public, anyone who holds a stake in your program, your students that you're teaching. Um, so when you are in leadership, you have to have, an understanding of the educational trends. For example, today AI is a really big thing, especially with language learning. But that's a whole other topic that we're going to address in a couple of weeks. Policies, different countries, different states have different institutional policies, also depending on the type of school that you work in, budgets, and then curriculum and assessment and design. Strategic planning, making 5-year goals, communication and conflict resolution, building your team, managing your staff, and keeping good morale within the student body and within your whole entire program. So developing your vision as an LPA, first you have to establish some goals and align them with the institutional mission. The mission is very important. Creating a shared vision, prioritizing your students, and then balancing innovation and practicality. Um, and again, LPAs often have several challenges that have to do with limited resources. For example, even just look at this book, how old it is. There are not many things for us to work on or work with sometimes. Sometimes we are the only person doing this job. So networking is important, attending things like TESOL, conventions or tabs, global symposiums, um, making friends and having colleagues that do this work has really helped me. And I think that you'll find that it will also be the same for you. Um, strategies for success. This is also going to be covered in your chapter. And then basically this week, you're just going to reflect on your reading and what transitioning from an LPA involves. Again, this book just broadly touches on the topic, things for you to think about, and some challenges and opportunities that you might encounter. And all I ask for this week is that you do the reading, you look at chapters 1 and 2, you fill out this questionnaire here about your skills and things that you need to work on. And then I'm going to go back to this in just a second, but in chapters 1 and 2, your discussion post has to do with imagine you're a new LPA in a new position, new language center in a university, and you've never taught there. So what steps would you take in that first week, first month, first year as a program director? And then refer to the reading and include some evidence of the fact that you read it in your response. And then in chapter 2, you'll fill out the assessment and then just comment on what were your greatest strengths and your greatest weaknesses and why. This is due actually tomorrow. It shouldn't be very hard for you to do that. And then by Friday, I would like each of you to respond. There's only 4 of you in the course, so you should take just a minute and briefly read what your peer wrote and then give a little thoughtful response. I want to bring your attention into the discussion forum rubric. So make sure you take a look at that. Went over here. And basically it's 10 points. Did you fulfill the task in the forum discussion? Did you use justifications from the course readings? And did you engage thoughtfully with your classmate? And you should be able to get all of your points. So this is the first week. It's just the beginning of a fun journey that we're going to go on together. Again, I apologize for not posting the syllabus properly, but I think I've got it all dialed in now. Sometimes I'll admittedly tell you that I am technologically challenged. And these programs, are always changing them around. So I I don't know. I think I figured it out though. So anyway, again, I'm Diva, I'm your instructor. I'm very excited to get to know you and to be part of this journey. So welcome to class and let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.